Hello, welcome to video lecture on antenna and wave propagation, part 2, antenna arrays. And last video lecture we have seen the two element array, an element array. Now in this lecture we will going to understand the uniform amplitude and spacing, broadside array, and fire array, an element array, and non-uniform amplitude and uniform spacing. Array of anisotropic point sources of equal amplitude and spacing. Broadside case, if the maximum radiation of an array is directed normal to the line of the array, that is phi is 90 degree and 270 degree, the array is called as broadside array. The radiation is normal to the line of array. All elements in the array should have the same phase excitation in addition to the same amplitude excitation. That is, the phase excitation or phase alpha should be equal to 0 in this case. Endfire case, an array is called as endfire if the maximum radiation is along one end of the axis of array, that is phi 0 or 180 degree with size equal to 0. Now endfire array, if you observe the radiation pattern, it is along the line of array. Now we will see if I put the condition for the broadside array in linear array, then I will get the parameters. The parameters what we have seen in the last video lectures of linear array with the phase excitation alpha, from which we can obtain the expressions for broadside array by putting alpha equal to 0. So simply put alpha equal to 0 and the expressions obtained for the linear array in the last video lecture. If you observe the part 1 video lecture, in that you just put there alpha equal to 0. So we have the nulls, that is null directions, and we have the expressions, that is phi 0 cos inverse plus minus capital N lambda divided by small n d, whereas capital N varies from 1 to 3 onwards, and small n, if you see the condition here, the small n should not be equal to capital N, or the integer multiple of n should not be equal to the capital N. Now if I put the value here, that is beta is nothing but the 2 pi divided by lambda, then we have the expressions here. The values of capital N actually determines the order of the nulls, and for the null to exist, the argument of the cos inverse cannot be unity. Now direction of the maxima. For the linear array, if phase excitation alpha is given, and if I put that 0 in the phase excitations alpha, and I will get the value which will given rise that if I put the value of beta also there, then I will get the cos inverse plus minus m lambda divided by d, where m is varies from 0, 1, 2, likewise that. The separation between the element can be any value. Remember that the separation can be having any value. So here many things we can observe here. To avoid the grading loops, the largest spacing between the elements should be less than one wavelength. You remember that this d max should be less than the lambda, that is one wavelength. The direction of side lobe maxima, that is phi s. Here if you put the alpha equal to 0 in the linear array equation, and after simplification I will get, that is phi s is equal to cos inverse plus minus twice s plus 1 into lambda divided by 2 and d. Now you can put here s equal to 1, 2, 3 onwards. Half power directions. In the half power directions, after simplification for the broadside array, we have phi h is equal to cos inverse plus minus 1.391 lambda divided by pi and d. So this is half power direction. Half power beamwidth, it is nothing but 2 into in bracket pi by 2 minus cos inverse 1.391 lambda divided by pi and small d. The first null beamwidth, that is also equal to 2 into pi by 2 minus cos inverse lambda by nd. First side loop beamwidth, that is equal to 2 into pi by 2 minus cos inverse 3 lambda by 2 nd. So here the half power angle from the axis of the array, half power angle from the axis of the array is phi h, and the major beam from the axis is 90° because it is a broadside case. The half power is basically nothing but the 2 into pi by 2 minus phi h. You remember, the half power beam width is nothing but 2 into pi by 2 minus phi h. Now property of the end fire array. In this property, an array is called as end-fire if the maximum radiation is along one end of the axis of the array. If the phi is 0° or 180° with psi is equal to 0, we say that it is the end-fire case. So radiation is maximum along the line of array, along the axis of array. And here the conditions what we have getting by putting the value of phi is equal to 0°. You remember here in this case we have putting phi is equal to 0. So if I put phi equal to 0 and psi equal to 0, we will get alpha is always equal to minus beta d, and which is lagging, that is alpha is minus beta d, minus sign indicate it is the lagging. So if I put psi equal to 0, we know psi is nothing but beta d into cos phi plus alpha. If I put alpha equal to 0 and psi is equal to 0, then alpha is always equal to minus beta d. Sorry, if I put there phi equal to 0 and psi is equal to 0, alpha is equal to minus beta d, and thus the end along the phi equal to 0 radiates provided there is a successive phase lag between the element of an amount of beta d, and which is the lagging part. Now, for example, if the spacing between the element, that is d, is equal to lambda by 2, then phase excitation alpha simply given in the end fire case is alpha equal to minus beta d. So here it is equal to beta is minus, so if you put beta equal to 2 pi upon lambda, lambda will get cancelled, 2 will get cancelled, we will get minus pi. So in that case the phase excitation become minus pi, and we know that it is a separation. If the separation between the elements as lambda by 2, the source 2 lags the source 1 by 180°, and source 3 lags source 2 by 180°, and so on. And if you find the condition for maximum, we can put the phi is equal to 180°, and if I put the phi is equal to 180°, then alpha is simply become beta d, which is leading. So you remember these two conditions, that is for end fire case the important is the maximum. If it is along phi equal to 0°, alpha is always minus beta d, which is lagging. For the maximum along phi equal to 180°, the alpha is always equal to plus beta d. In simple word, I can say that the end fire condition which is results when phi is equal to 0° or 180°, which corresponds to alpha equal to minus beta d or plus beta d. and such arrays for which alpha is plus minus beta d are referred to as ordinary end fire arrays. So if I put alpha equal to plus minus beta d, the resultant is nothing but the end fire array, and the characteristics of the patterns can be obtained by simply putting alpha equal to minus beta d. So in this case, the nulls, now you can consider the equations for the linear array, and in that equation put there alpha equal to minus beta d for phi equal to 0 degree. Now we know for the null phi 0 is cos inverse 1 upon beta into in bracket minus alpha plus minus 2 n pi divided by n from the last conditions. And if I put alpha equal to minus beta d and simplify it, the equation, the null directions will be cos inverse 1 minus lambda capital N divided by small n into d. And the condition is that n is varies from 1 to up to 3, and capital N is not equal to small n or integer multiple of the n. So here if you observe the negative sign, and this negative sign uh, will be positive if we have the alpha equal to beta d and if phi is equal to 180 degree. Now we will see the maxima, that is phi m. Similarly, we are going to put alpha equal to minus beta d in the linear array equation, and after simplification we will get the maxima, that is direction of maxima phi m is equal to cos inverse 1 minus m lambda divided by d, where this m is varies from 0 1 2 onwards. The single loop maxima, here also we are going to put alpha equal to minus beta d, and after simplification we will get phi s is equal to cos inverse 1 minus in bracket 2s plus 1 bracket complete lambda divided by 2n d. The half power directions, so phi h, which is given as cos inverse 1 minus 1.391 lambda divided by pi n d. Half power beam width, which is equal to, after simplification we have 2 into cos inverse 1 minus 1.391 lambda divided by pi n d. You remember that the phi in this case is 0, and what we have here only this part, that is the phi h. So 0 minus phi h, which, and if you take the absolute value multiply with the 2, so 2 into absolute value of 0 minus phi h, which is nothing but half power beam width in case of end fire array. But in case of the broadside array, it is equal to 2 into absolute of pi by 2 minus phi h in case of broadside array. Now if we consider the first null beam width, that is equal to 2 cos inverse 1 minus lambda upon nd. First side loop beam width, that is 2 into cos inverse 1 minus 3 lambda upon 2 nd. So here if you remember the one equation, that is equations for the linear array, and by putting the conditions you can able to derive the equations for broadside array and equations for end fire array. In case of broadside array, simply put alpha equal to 0. In case of end fire array, simply put alpha equal to plus beta d or minus beta d. If phi equal to 0, put there minus beta d, alpha equal to minus beta d. If phi is equal to 180 degree, put there alpha equal to plus beta d. In this case, we have discussed with the phi equal to 0 degree and alpha equal to minus beta d. Now we have seen, that is ordinary end fire arrays for which the progressive phase shift alpha, which is equal to minus beta d or plus beta d, and the angle is phi equal to 0 degree or phi equal to 180 degree. Now this produces the maximum field in the phi equal to 0 degree or phi equal to 180 degree, but does not give the maximum directivity, and directivity is very less as we compare with the ordinary arrays. If it is possible to make the main beam narrower and thus increase the directivity by increasing the phase shift over the ordinary end fire case. So in order to enhance the directivity of an end fire array without destroying any other characteristics, Hansen and Woodyard in 1938 produced or proposed that the required phase shift between closely spaced elements of a very long array should be equal to. Now we know we are going to put phi equal to 0. For phi equal to 0, alpha is minus beta d in previous case, and for phi equal to 180 degree, alpha is plus beta d. But he suggested that instead of putting directly minus beta d, now put alpha is equal to, in simple word, beta d plus pi by n, or beta d plus 2.94 by n. So just the Hansen-Woodyard suggested that you have to insert there 2.94 divided by n parameter in the phase shift, and this condition is called as the Hansen-Woodyard condition for increased directivity. Simply the directivity for broadside array, which is given as for any d which is equal to 2n d by lambda, or we can, in other word, we can say that 2 into is bracket 1 plus l by d into d by lambda. Similarly, for ordinary and phi case, it is not for Hansen-Woodyard case. That is, d is equal to, directivity is equal to 4n d by lambda, which is equal to 4 into in bracket 1 plus ld d by lambda. If length is much more greater than the spacing d, then we have the directivity simply for the large arrays, that is d equal to 2 into l by lambda, or d equal to 4 into l by lambda in the case of end fire. Now we will consider the pattern multiplication. Now the pattern recognition, or sorry, pattern multiplication is used here. Now if we have the arrays of anisotropic sources and the problem is to find the radiation pattern of it, the analysis involves a lot of calculations, and we have to find out the null directions, direction of maxima, the direction of side loops, etc. And after that we can able to plot the radiation pattern. Now the exact radiation pattern is only possible using the mathematical equations that we have seen in the previous lectures. Now here the rough estimation, or what we say the rough patterns, can be calculated accurately using the technique called as the pattern multiplication technique. And this technique can be explained with some examples here, and by inspection we can find out the pattern. Here very simple technique is that we have to multiply the group pattern with the unit pattern, and if I multiply the group pattern with the unit pattern, or unit pattern into group pattern, we will get the pattern of, or radiation pattern of, that particular array. Consider one case here, that we have the 4 isotropic sources. So 1, 2, 3, 4, these are the antenna sources here, and each antenna or arrays are separated by the distance small d, and the angle is the phi. So here consider the arrays of isotropic sources with spacing d and equal to the lambda by 2, the d is equal to lambda by 2, and phase alpha equal to 0. Phase alpha is equal to 0. So if alpha equal to 0, the pattern is always equal to the broadside pattern. The result pattern can be obtained analytically by adding the 4 fields due to the 4th element. Now there are 4 elements and we need to obtain the radiation pattern. And same pattern can be obtained using that. We know that if you consider element 1 and element 2, now this is simply a 2 element array. And in previous video lecture, we have seen how to find the radiation pattern of 2 element array when distance is lambda by 2. And we found that when d is lambda by 2, alpha is 0, the radiation pattern is figure 8 shaped. So this is the broadside case. we have seen in the last video lecture. So here 1 and 2 having the pattern H shaped. So already we have seen the pattern due to 1 and 2, which is nothing but the H shaped size, because the distance d between antenna 1 and antenna 2 is lambda by 2. Now similarly we have the remaining two elements, that is 3 and 4. If you consider 3 and 4 element, what we have here, see the distance between 3 and 4, again it is d. The distance between 3 and 4 is d, that is, and d is nothing but lambda by 2 with alpha is 0. So here in case of 3 and 4, again we have getting the same pattern of figure 8. Now we have the two patterns, that is first is due to 1 and 2 and second is due to 3 and 4. You can see here we have the two patterns, first is due to 1 and 2 and second is due to 3 and 4, and the separation is nothing but the lambda by 2. Now the resultant is available exactly at middle of these two sources. The resultant pattern is arises exactly at the middle. So previous case the lambda by 2 is the distance between the elements, here also in between 3 and 4 the distance is lambda by 2. The exactly middle of this is just divided by 2 here, and the middle one will be this point, and the distance from middle to source 1 from middle to source 2 is lambda by 4. Similarly here the same case. Now we have to able to understand here the distance between 2 and 3 is lambda by 2. You remember this distance between 2 and 3 is lambda by 2 because 1 2 3 4 elements are separated by the distance d, the same distance, which is equal to lambda by 2. Already we have, that is now 2 to 3 the distance is lambda by 2. From a resultant to source 2 the distance is lambda by 4. This from source 3 to the middle b the distance is lambda by 4. So this lambda by 4, this lambda by 4 is equal to lambda by 2, and this is lambda by 2. So lambda by 2 plus lambda by 2, the distance become lambda. Now the resultant A and resultant B is separated by the lambda. Now if resultant A and resultant B is separated by the lambda, we have the previous case. Already we have seen in the last video lecture that if separation is lambda and if alpha equal to 0, we have this pattern. Now this pattern we are getting here, A and B is the resultant, and now this pattern is the resultant of A and B, which is again available exactly at the middle of this, and this pattern is known as the group pattern. Now this is a very simple pattern, but it is known as the group pattern. Remember that, note that this is not the resultant pattern. It is simply a group pattern. Now you can see the procedure, how we are going to find out the group pattern. First, when we have selected these two and these two, we know the separation is lambda by 2. So here the pattern will be H shaped. Here also pattern will be H shaped. Then we have marked the resultant here, that is A and B. The separation is lambda. So if separation is lambda, we have this pattern. And now further we could not have the other pattern, that is the group pattern. So here this pattern is known as the group pattern. Now actual pattern is nothing but the unit pattern into group pattern. We know the total pattern is unit pattern into group pattern. So what is the unit pattern? It is the H-shaped pattern. And what is the group pattern? Already we have, here you can see already we have drawn that pattern. Now if you multiply these two, remember how to multiply. You first calculate the number of nulls. So here we have 1 and 2 null. Here we have the 4 nulls. So total become 6 nulls. So first draw the 3 lines, 1, 2, 3. So this indicate the 6 nulls. Now this will going to multiply. So we have the maximum in this direction. This will going to multiply. So we will have the maximum in this direction. Now what are the remaining case? In between the dotted line, draw the side loops, because these are not going to multiply. Now you remember that the property of the total pattern is the number of nulls in the total pattern is the sum of the nulls in the unit and group pattern. So whatever the nulls we have in the unit pattern, whatever the nulls we have in the group pattern, we just add these two. This is 2, this is 4, becomes 6. So in the resultant pattern there should be the 6 null. So before drawing the total pattern, remember that count the number of nulls of unit pattern and group pattern. Plus, in first case, draw that null and then draw the maxima. That is, this will going to multiply, so it will be maximum. This will going to multiply, so this will be maximum. And in between these dotted lines, in between the nulls, draw the side loop. Now we will see the non-uniform amplitude arrays. In previous part of this video lecture, we have seen the arrays with uniform spacing, separation is uniform, and uniform amplitude with the same amplitude, and a progressive phase shift between the elements. Now we will going to consider that the amplitudes of currents are going to change and it becomes a non-uniform amplitude array. And this analysis is depend on whether the number of elements are even or whether the number of elements are odd. And depending on that, we will analyze the non-uniform amplitude pattern. You can see if the arrays having the even number of elements, then suppose the arrays having the even number of elements, you just find out the midpoint, that is you can space here, and you can consider this as the reference. So if we have the 2m number of the isotropic elements, then which is placed, consider that along the z, it is the z axis, so along the z axis, and the elements placed symmetrically, and this is the origin, and assume that the elements are spaced evenly about the origin. Then the m number of elements will be on each side, and the separation between these elements, consider that if separation is small d. Now here from the origin the separation become d by 2, from the origin separation is become d by 2. Now we will see this part here in this diagram. Now this is the origin indicated with the O letter. One element is placed at A1 and other element is also placed at A1. Now here one is leading and one is lagging. Here the separation is d by 2, here is also separation is d by 2, and here the path difference, if you calculate, which is d by 2 cos of theta, if the angle is theta. Here it is 3 by 2 d cos of theta, and likewise that this will be going to progress, because from this origin we have to draw the line of the same angle theta. If you take this angle theta and if you draw like that, so here what we have, in first case it is d by 2, in second case it is 3d by 2. You remember this pattern. Now this pattern is very important when we are going to write down the equations for the even number. Now consider we have the two capital M number of isotropic elements which is placed along the z axis, and due to the symmetry about the origin, what we have, the first part is psi by 2, already we have seen. Here it is d by 2. So here in case of the array factor we have the psi by 2. In second case it is become 3 by 2. Now from these two relationship we can write down the pattern at the mth level, that is equal to 2m minus 1 divided by 2. You can put here m equal to 1. Then what we have here, 2 minus 1, that is 1, we are getting the this condition. And likewise that if you put here, that is at the mth level we have 2m minus 1 divided by 2. Now this will give you the one side. In other side, if this is leading, at the other side of the origin the pattern will be lagging. So here this is the lagging pattern, and similarly we have the same part. We know that psi is equal to beta d into cos of theta. Already we have seen the where it is. This is the theta, and it is a multiple of 1 half, 3 half, likewise that. Now if I rearrange this, you can see how I can rearrange. Now what is e raised to theta plus e raised to minus, sorry, e raised to j theta plus e raised to minus j theta? It is nothing but the 2 cos of theta. And if I use this identity here, a whole expression of the refractor will become 2a1 cos psi by 2 plus 2a2 cos 3 psi by 2. What is a1, e2? These are the amplitudes. Then we have the non-uniform amplitude, so a1 is not equal to a2, likewise that it is not equal to am. Now we have a series here, and this series could be represented using the summation sign, and the variable I am taken here n, so it is become n is varies from 1 to capital M, that is total number of the elements divided by 2, that is total number of element is 2 into m. Here we are taken only m into 2, that is there are symmetries, so if you take 2 as a common, you can here you can take 2. This is a1, so variable is n, so it is an, it is cos, and what we have here 2n minus 1 divided by 2 into psi. Now what is the maximum value here? So maximum value is 2 here, because this is not the same case. It means that the amplitude of current is not same, and because of that we could not take this an as common, and this is the critical case of the non-uniform amplitude array. So here the maximum value is 2. In other cases it is 2 into the amplitude when current is uniform. Now if I divide by this 2, the normalized array factor, which is given as, you remember this equation, that is array factor is, normalized array factor is n equal to 1 to capital M n cos 2n minus 1 psi divided by 2. Now similarly we can go for the odd number of elements. Now if we consider the odd number of the arrays, and if you place there the excitations, now you remember that there will be one thing which will be available, there will be one element which is available at the origin. But in case of the even number of elements, at the origin there is no element. Now for the sake of convenience, because we know that this is a non-uniform array, I assume that it is of having the amplitude of twice of a1 as compared with the even number of elements. So here if I have taken here the theta, then in first case it is d cos theta, in second case it is 2d cos of theta, and likewise that it will be 3d, 4d, etc. So here if the arrays elements, if arrays elements are odd in number, then what we have the progression, and I'm going to put here progression at the origin. There will be no phase shift, and we have the twice a1 is the amplitude of the current. In the next case it is psi, it is multiple of the 1. In next case it is 2, so it will be the multiple of m. Now just see here how we can, and the next part will be, now this is the leading part, this will be lagging part. If you combine this leading and lagging part, you can easily replace with the 2 cos of psi. So here we can say we can just easily replace with the 2 cos psi, 2 cos 2 psi, likewise that 2 cos m psi. These are the amplitude. Now we can express this equation into a summation part, that is 2 into summation n equal to 1 m plus 1 an cos n minus 1 psi, and a normalized pattern will be just divided by 2, because the maximum value is 2 here, are a factor, and this will be summation n equal to 1 to m plus 1 an cos n minus 1 psi. Now in this video lecture we have seen the how to analyze the non-uniform amplitude array. Also, we have seen the broadside and endside cases and Hansen-Woodyard case.